Federal government to continue economic and sustainability plan implementation to sustain growth trajectory. FG investors to establish $14.2 million cassava processing industry in Equities State, create 5,000 direct and 10,000 indirect jobs. As agriculture contributes 23.92% to Nigeria's gross domestic product in second quarter 2021. Plus, oil drops as Hurricane Ida weakens. OPEC in focus. Details of this and more on Business Express. We're reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Let's bring you up to speed with business development. The federal government says it will continue to implement the economic sustainability plan amongst other programs in a bid to sustain upward trend in the country's latest gross domestic product, GDP. Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed said this at the briefing in Abuja. The finance minister attributed the 5.01% second quarter 2021 growth to the various interventions by the federal government, explaining that is a process and the impact will gradually be felt by the citizenry.
Impact on the lives of the citizens until we get to a growth rate that is significantly larger than the birth rate, we call it the population rate. The impact will not be felt by every Nigerian, but you will begin to see the impact on industry, on services, and what that means is there will be more employment to reduce the unemployment levels, and there will be more consumption levels will increase because there will be more funds in the hands of people. It's a gradual process, and we will reach our growth aspirations. And
with the medium-term national development plan, the projection is to have about a minimum of 7% growth rate. That's what we are pursuing. But there are a number of reforms that needs to take place in the economy for us to maintain sustainable growth.
The group of development partners to include U.S. Development Finance Corporation and the African Development Bank and the Central Bank of Nigeria, among others, are to invest $14.2 million in Equities State on large-scale cassava farming and processing for both domestic consumption and export. Statement by the media aide to the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Ifedayo Sayo, says the minister assured the investors of federal government commitment to ensure return on investment, adding that a technical team from the ministry will meet with the investors to provide the necessary guide, including incentives already put in place to ensure the success of the investment. 3,600 hectares of land has been acquired with a planned flour mill of 60 tons per day for an annual capacity of 18,000 metric tons, with capacity to provide 5,350 direct jobs and 10,950 indirect jobs. The Department of Weights and Measures of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is set to meet and surpass a 1 billion naira revenue target before end of the year as at July 2021. The department has remitted 357 million naira into the nation's coffers as part of its contribution to the revenue drive of the federal government and targets 1 billion naira before end of the year. Director of Weights and Measures Hassan Ejibonu disclosed this to the media the media during a stakeholders meeting in Abuja. Ajibono said the much being achieved has been without the required working tools, which are now being provided with the approval for procurement of 14 vehicles and other office tools for field operations.
That the ministry, under the current leadership, is working assiduously to bring those issues up that will give form to the amendment of the PIA. This is to ensure that the mandate of the department has given in Article 65 of the Nigerian Constitution and other legal instruments are not tampered with.
The meeting here is also to evolve strategies for enhancement of revenue generation and standardization of measures equipment. Now, the economy of a nation or nations have been hugely dependent on various maritime activities. Daily, about 180,000 vessels take to sea and 30 million tons of goods are ferried across the world. Ports are built, coastal infrastructure is developed, marine environmental plans are implemented. For all these things to happen, it takes huge investment. Suleiman Babajia takes us through progress being made in reviving a colonial economic asset, the Barrow River Port in Niger State.
Barrow Port was the first inland port in Nigeria, serving as a major water transportation in the northern part of the country. It was later linked by rail line, making movement of goods seamless from Barrow to Minna, Kano and Lagos.
It was built and made functional in 1911 because the colonial masters saw the importance of the Barrow Port. It served as a terminal for the movement of goods from the northern Nigeria to southern Nigeria, even before the amalgamation of the northern and southern protectorates in 1914.
However, the port was completely abandoned in the early 70s. Successive governments made little attempt to resuscitate this colonial legacy. The substantive effort came under late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua government. He passed on and the project hibernated yet again. President Muhammadu Buhari took on the challenge to revive the port. He had helped design its complex during his time as the chairman of the defunct PTF. His personal attachment and promise to bring the port back to life triumphed when he commissioned the 6 billion naira project in January 2019.
They said one thing very significant, that they want to use Barrow to decongest marine traffic that comes to Port Harcourt and Lagos. Now, if you're talking of decongesting marine traffic, that means you're also talking of broadening the economic base, such that some people that have to go to Lagos to do some activities can actually do it here.
And if you look at the strategic location of Barrow to the middle part of Nigeria, to the northern part of Nigeria, down to the south, it's more strategic than even Lagos and Port Harcourt, because you can come into Barrow and you can distribute your goods elsewhere. So I think it's very important.
It is projected that the port will provide 2,000 direct and 2,500 indirect jobs, but the port, which is a strategic integrated transport system, is yet to witness any business activity after its commissioning. The 55 kilometers Agay-Kacha-Barrow road was reawarded in 2015 with a 12-month completion period. The success is limited to 10 kilometers from Agay section of the road. Kacha to Barrow remain a death trap. Contract has equally been awarded for the construction of the Barrow, Moye and Gegu section of the road, which links the port to the southern part of the country. The rail transport is promised too.
There's a need for serious dredging, maintenance dredging works to be carried on, in addition to the challenges we have for the access roads and rail.
To talk further on investment in inland river ports is Mani Ochuboju. You're welcome to studio.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, to begin the conversation, will it be right to say that a goods transport system is a sign of a recovery economy?
Oh, absolutely. Transportation is an indicator of how vibrant an economy is. It moves goods, it moves services, it moves people, and it tells you that things are happening, what they call in England the green shoots of the economy. You see signs of recovery, you see signs of growth, and one of the easy indicator is the transport industry particularly. And that is very correct to say so, sir.
Nigeria is blessed with 870 kilometers of coastline, about 3,000 kilometers of inland waterways, and currently has 6 major ports. Right? What does this mean for a nation's economy?
Potentially, it shows that Nigeria has an immense maritime potentials.
Okay.
Immense to the extent that we can use it as even an alternative in diversifying the economy that will provide resources and contribution to the GDP as much as oil does. The maritime economy, on the average, in most economies, contribute about 3 to 4% of the gross domestic product, and that is a lot of money. And presently, we are not there yet. Okay. We are presently contributing about 0.5% to the economy. Yes, it's small, but what it suggests is that there is still so much potential and so much scope for growth.
Tell us about the potentials, please.
The potentials essentially will entail that the ports will be made more user-friendly, more business-friendly. As you say in business, ease of doing business. Yeah. If you improve the ease of doing business in a port like, let's say, Apapa, particularly Apapa and Tinkan Island, more ports, more vessels will come in and go out. It also means import and export. So if you can work on Apapa and make it easy for business, and you can decongest Lagos and make it easy for vehicles to go in and out of Lagos. And in particular, you use other ports. Use other ports like One Port, Warri, Port Harcourt Port in the Eastern Coast. Use Calabar Port. That will help to decongest Lagos and improve the vibrance of the maritime industry, because the maritime industry is a vast ocean of resources for us to tap into. That is literally what it is. It's an ocean of resources for Nigeria to tap into and diversify. And for now, we're only just tapping the surface of it. And not to forget, of course, the river ports. In fact, the river ports, I have a passion for the river ports, partly maybe because I'm from Benue and we have river there, but more importantly, the river ports are a bit neglected, I'm sorry to say. Okay. But again, it's a growing economy. It's an economy that can be grown. We have Baru Port, we have Lokoja Port, we have Onitsha Port. I don't need to mention all the others, but I'm talking of the most vibrant and the most viable ones that are ready. Like Baru is ready to go, Onitsha is ready to go. I mean, it's a turnkey project. You just need to turn the key and off we are running with that project.
How do we turn that key?
How do we turn that key? We dredge the river.
Okay.
Dredging the river it's a mandate for the Ministry of Transport, in particular, National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA. I'm sure Dr. George Mogalu would do something about it before he leaves, whenever that is, because it's a mandate I know he's interested in. And I know even the minister himself, Minister Amechi, with due respect, is excited about the possibility of dredging the Niger. Well, he comes from the Niger Delta area. He would love to see that as part of the feather to his heart of achievement as a minister. And when we get that dredging done, where you can move vessels from Port Harcourt, from One, all the way to Baru easily, where big vessels can come in. The draft level right now is 2.3, 2.5, 3. You need about 5, 6, 7 meter draft for decent level of vessels to come in. But besides that, you can use barges anyway. You can use barges for transshipment. So for now, National Inland Waterways, NIWA, they can help with barges and vessels to carry goods even from Lagos. From Lagos to Port Harcourt to Baru, they can do that easily. And to Onitsha particularly too. Onitsha because a significant percentage of the goods that go to Lagos, they end up in Onitsha. So folks in Onitsha are complaining that Lagos is congested, they lose money, their goods get destroyed. Why can't you ship your things to Onitsha? Onitsha has a port, for crying out loud.
Okay, now where does the private sector comes in? Now you know that government cannot do everything.
Fair enough. I know this is a business program. Where business comes in is, for example, in provision of, let's say, badges.
Okay.
NIWA doesn't have to provide badges. They don't have to provide flat bottom vessels. I call them flat bottom vessels. Flat bottom vessels because you can run those vessels on narrow water, even without dredging. Why can't we do that? Why can't private investors come in? Why can't they? Okay, for now, Onitsha is up for concession. Baru is up for concession. Baru is ready, 100% ready for concession. Why don't they bid actively and sincerely? Because some people come and pretend, I use the word pretend because I've been involved with many concession projects, particularly on transportation. And these guys come from overseas, America, you name it. And they are not sincere, for crying out loud. So private sector, we need some level of sincerity and integrity here. These projects are here, they are viable, and they are available for concessioning. And please, you come and make a bid.
Okay, statistics from NPA indicates that 4,070 vessels with over 121 million visited Nigeria in the year 2000 alone. Having an overall cargo of over 28 million tons. If Baro, Onitsha, Oguta, Opobo, Lokoja and Jaba are to become viable, can you give us an estimate in terms of economic estimate?
Quite frankly, before Baru as a port was established, there is a business case for them. So they've made the projection 20, 30 years ahead. The same for Onitsha, the same for Agwata. But keeping it simple, keeping it contemporary. George Mogalu, the chairman of Inland Waterways, recently said, when these ports become viable, Nigeria will be making an average of $1.2 billion annually. $1 billion. Now, the main viable ports on that route, Baru, Lokoja, Onitsha. Let's keep it to these three. Okay, even if you don't divide the 1.2 billion equally to the three of them, and even conservatively, Baru will be generating, and I stand to be quoted anywhere, a minimum,
I'm afraid we have to leave it
100 million every year. $100 million, which is about 50 billion naira every year, minimum, from Baru.
Thank you very much, Mani Ochogboju, transport consultant. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now moving on, the agricultural sector has contributed 23.92% to the Nigeria's gross domestic product GDP in the second quarter of 2021. Musa Babali reports that the contribution of the sector dropped against what was recorded in the first quarter of the year.
Figures released by the National Bureau of Statistics indicate that the country's agricultural sector grew by 6.36% year-on-year in the second quarter of 2021. The analysis of the figures indicates a fall of minus 13.54% points from the same quarter of 2020. The breakdown shows that crop production remained the major driver of the sector, accounting for 68.60% of overall growth of the sector in the year under review.
We need to dedicate more attention to the economy so that it can begin to grow sustainably at a pace where it will match the population growth, and then to lift over 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, we need to grow far much more than we are doing today, about 10% or thereabouts.
The year-on-year contribution to gross domestic product, the sector accounted for 23.78% of overall GDP in real terms in second quarter of 2021, lower than the contribution in the second quarter of 2020, which stood at 24.65%.
We've relatively had an increment
in terms of per person per capital consumption of egg from roughly 40 eggs per person per year in the last 15 years, increasing to around 60-70 eggs per person per year.
In the meantime, the Buhari Media Organization has described the country's GDP growth of 5.01% as an indication of the resilience of Nigeria's economy under President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. The media group in a statement said the figure is indicative that the economic policies deployed by the federal government in a concentric manner are working.
Equities market closed last week on a marginally positive note. Let's join Muplan Dakok for details.
The equities market closed last week on a marginally positive note as the NGX All-Share Index appreciated by 0.01% to close the week at 39,485.65, with market capitalization at 20.573 trillion naira. 1.026 billion shares worth 8.1 billion naira in 18,102 deals were traded in the week by investors. The financial services industry, measured by volume, led the activity chart with 567.2 million shares valued at 3.6 billion naira traded in 7,970 deals. The ICT industry followed with 126.6 million shares worth 1.1 billion naira, while the consumer goods industry occupied the third place. All indices finished lower with the exception of the NGX Premium, Banking, Insurance, AfriDiv Yield, Merry Value, and Oil and Gas indices, which appreciated, while SM, Growth, and Sovereign Bond indices closed flat. Trading in the top three equities, Sovereign Trust Insurance, Mutual Benefits Assurance, and Transnational Corporation of Nigeria accounted for 247.7 million shares in the week. A total of 39,465 units of exchange-traded products ETPs valued at 1.8 million naira were traded in the week in 27 deals, as well as 26,861 units of federal government bonds valued at 27.5 million naira. 35 equities appreciated in price. 29 equities depreciated, while 92 equities remained unchanged.
Has update on global stocks.
Hello and welcome to the Global Market Review. With the Federal Reserve's meeting in view, investors are now focused on the direction of stocks for the final month of the year. There are no major European earnings releases on Monday, but data released in the region include preliminary inflation readings from Germany and Spain for August and the latest Eurozone economic sentiment and business climate data. European stocks traded slightly higher on Monday, reflecting broadly positive trade in global markets overnight. DAX top 0.27% at 15,894.25. FTSE 0.32% at 7,148.01, and France's CAC 40 was 0.22% high. Shares in Asia Pacific mostly rose on Monday's trade, with Australian stocks recovering from an earlier slip as COVID-19 cases in the country spike. In Japan, the Nikkei advanced 0.54% high to close 27,789.29. Shanghai Composite was 0.17% high at 3,528.15, and the Hang Seng Index was 0.52% higher at 25,539.54. U.S. stock futures rose slightly on Monday as investors readied for the final trading day of August. The Dow Jones Industrial Average top 0.69%, S&P 500 0.88%, and Nasdaq Composite was 1.23% high. It was mixed trade for Africa stocks, with the Ghana's GSA Composite, Namibia's overall index, and Tunisia's Tunidex posting gains, while South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 dipped 0.35%, and Nairobi All Share also depreciated 0.3%. 0.11%.
Well, that's Business Express. Join us tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. I am Musa Abubakar. Thank you.